Welcome, my name is Dr. Fiala, and this is a brief tutorial on how to find articles related to the field of psychology and counseling. So to get started finding articles, the first thing you want to do is go to the university's webpage and then click on the left-hand side of the menu on the Library tab, and that'll bring you to this page. Now on this page there are several important links, and before we follow one to where we'll be going to look for articles, let's talk about some of the other things. Start off talking about the links you can find listed under Help. One of them, you can chat with our librarian live under certain hours of the day. I think it's like Monday through Thursday, but it changes, so just click on that link and it'll tell you exactly when the hours are. The library orientation, take that. It takes you to a site with several links with lots of information about how to use the library resources, how to make the best use of what the library has to offer. If you click on subject guides and then click on psychology after you follow that, it'll show a list of all the databases that may be good places to search for articles. And we'll talk about some in particular, but it lists even some other ones that I won't talk about in this current tutorial. Now if you look under the services block, there's a couple more links that may be important for you. One big one will be Interlibrary Loan. This is where you go whenever you find a citation for an article or a book chapter maybe, and it's not available full text online, and we don't have it in our library or CTC's library or any local library that you can easily access. You can request that through Interlibrary Loan, and basically what they do typically is whatever library has it, they'll scan it in and email it to you, and you get a nice electronic copy of that article or chapter. TechShare is another resource to make use of. A lot of students don't seem to know about that. If you follow this link, it'll tell you how to get a TechShare library card, which will allow you to use a lot of the other libraries in Texas, including, for example, Mary Hardin Baylor's. If they have something, in their stacks, some book or some journal that we don't have, and you want to go there physically and get it, you can use your TechShare card. Now looking over to the links under the research block. If you follow the online catalog, that'll show you where you can search the North Campus Library and the CTC Library for books and journals to see what we have in our physical collection. The online journals link is a good one. You can browse through journals that we have full text online. This may be a good starting place if you're trying to find a topic. If you're looking for a journal that focuses maybe on a specific topic, like if you're looking about something about the difference between men and women, you can go to the Sex Roles Journal and just read through some of the articles to maybe help you find an idea. And then what we're going to be focusing on today is with the online databases. And when we click this, it'll bring up a list of searchable academic databases. So if we click on that, it'll bring us to this page, which shows several databases that are relevant to courses in psychology and counseling, as well as probably all the rest of your courses. One of the most comprehensive databases you can choose is the Academic Search Complete. It provides full-text articles for over 3,200 journals covering the social sciences, humanities, general sciences, and more. And if we scroll down a little bit, include all the ones that you see above Psycinfo, ProQuest, Psych Articles, Psychiatry Online, Psychology and Behavioral Sciences Collection, Psychology Journals. Elsewhere on this page, if you scroll down or up depending on what you're looking for, the SOC Index, S-O-C Index, has articles on fields related to psychology, for example, criminal justice, marriage and family, substance abuse. If you're looking for stuff in the medical literature, like stuff on disease prevalence, maybe some neuroscience stuff, Medline is a good search engine for that kind of thing. And then if you're looking for some things related to education or schooling, ERIC, E-R-I-C, ERIC is a good database to look at. For now, we'll start by clicking on Psycinfo. And if you're not on campus, you probably have to log in with your NTNet username and password to get here. This is what comes up whenever you click on Psycinfo, and this screen is similar to a lot of the other screens you'll see for other databases that are run by the EBSCO company, EBSCO hosts. So now you can click on Choose Database to broaden your search to include other databases if you wish to do so. So this is what comes up if you clicked on that Choose Database icon. And you can add other databases simply by clicking the box next to each one you want. And if you position the cursor over the little text bubble next to each title, it'll tell you a little bit about what's in that database. An advantage of searching multiple databases at once, obviously it expands your search. It looks in a lot of places at one time. However, disadvantage will be it limits the type of search fields you can use. To show you what I mean, let's go back to Psycinfo for a minute. So if I just select a Psycinfo, whenever I go to search for a word or a phrase, I can look in quite a variety of fields if I want to limit my search to looking in certain places, especially if I'm looking for a particular article. This can be really helpful. So one of the ones you'll see on here is keyword. Authors are asked to identify keywords that would be helpful in finding their work in a database. Now if I add academic search complete after going back to choose database, so I do choose database, Psycinfo, and academic search complete, it limits my search field. So now my drop down menu just gives me these options. And for all of the EBSCO databases, I'll still have all these options, which you still have the TX all text, which is pretty good. It searches all text that's available, the title, which is good, and then subject terms, which is pretty similar to keyword. And of course you also don't have to select a field, and if you don't select a field, it'll search everywhere. Okay. Before we get started searching for more articles, I want to point out one more resource whenever using EBSCO stuff. If you look over here, there's this little question mark to the right of the word clear, and this is whether you're doing Psycinfo or Psycinfo and other databases. That question mark will always be there. And this question mark will lead you to a help page for all the EBSCO databases. So if I click on that, it pops up another window, and there's a lot of good information here. A good place to start if you kind of want to learn how to use these databases is going here and then going over to the tutorials, which you see highlighted on the left. And if we click this, it links to some brief online training videos. So if I go to that, it opens up another window and several really quick, brief videos. And if you don't have time to look at all of them, which I know you probably don't, I'd recommend at least looking at the this top one, the advanced search guided style. It'll give you some good tips about how to use the search fields and how to combine phrases using, and, or, not, those types of things. Okay, now that we've covered some of the basics about how to find the databases and shown you where to find information on how to use the databases, which hopefully you'll look at more carefully, let's talk a little bit about finding articles. And we'll do that by using an example. So we'll start off with a question. Right? So are mentally ill people dangerous? Now if you just type that question into a search, into the search line in Psycinfo, probably not going to do really well at finding articles. It doesn't work the same way that things like Google and other of these some of these newer search engines work. You have to do a bit more thinking before you get to that point where you're going to be able to type some stuff. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a little bit more specific about exactly what you're talking about. So for example, whenever I say, are mentally ill people dangerous, first I have to ask myself, what do I mean by mentally ill or mentally ill people? Do I mean someone diagnosed with a mental disorder? And I think, well, enuresis, bedwetting, is a DSM diagnosis. Do I really want to know if people who wet the bed are dangerous? Am I saying mental illness in terms of someone judged by the legal system to be insane? Because insane is a legal term, not a clinical term. People aren't usually judged to be insane until after they've gotten in trouble with the law. So then, almost by default, a majority of people who are insane will be dangerous. So that's probably why they got the legal label. That may not be the best thing, but that kind of gets at what I'm looking at. Is it someone who needs treatment for psychological difficulty? This does away with the requirement for DSM labels, but it gets me in a very kind of large and murky pool of diverse individuals, which may not be exactly what I'm talking about. So I kind of go back again to DSM diagnosis and think, okay, Maybe if meeting criteria for DSM diagnosis is associated with being dangerous, it's probably only certain diagnostic categories. So perhaps I should address this question first. Which diagnoses are associated with higher levels of dangerousness? So a couple things to think about, and as I'm thinking about those things, okay, well, what are ways of talking about all these ideas? And I'm kind of jotting those down in my notes. And then the other part is, what do I mean by dangerous? Every sentient being has the potential to harm something or someone else. Therefore, everyone is potentially dangerous. So probably I mean, more dangerous than the typical person. Well, what does that mean? Well, probably more likely to commit some sort of act of aggression or violence against someone or something. And I think, okay, well, how would the likelihood of being aggressive or violent be measured? If I'm looking for research on this stuff, maybe about criminal history, maybe school conduct reports. Maybe there's certain clinical tools for measuring aggression or violence I could look into. So as I'm thinking about all these things, trying to get more specific, I'm jotting down ideas. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to think of search terms. And I'm doing it with kind of an eye toward how do researchers talk about these ideas. If some academic were writing an article about this stuff, what would they say? I mean, they wouldn't say, I'm looking at a study of people who hit people, right? That's kind of how we talk. That's not how they talk. So search terms I might think of in terms of kind of the first part of it, mentally ill, and I think of variations of mentally ill. An article may have mentally ill as the subject or the title, but it may have mental illness instead. So I might search both of those. Maybe kind of looking at kind of the way lay people talk about it. So maybe the word crazy I'll throw in there. Insane, even though I'm not crazy about that. And if I put insane in, I want for another form of that. Insanity. And then maybe if I'm looking at DSM, that'll probably be under psychiatric diagnosis or mental disorder or psychological disorder. And then my other variable, dangerous. So I think of other forms of dangerous that might be in articles. Maybe dangerousness, aggression. If I put aggression, I'll probably also look at aggressive, violence or violent, criminal or crime. So I have several search terms I've kind of jotted down, and now I've got a place to start. So I can go to my database, and I'll go to Psycinfo, and if I enter one of the kind of lists of variables in one of the fields, you'll see there in the top search line, I have mentally ill in parentheses. So mentally ill is one search term, or mental illness, or crazy, or insane, all the ones I talked about, or all linked with or. So if any one of those is pulled up, it'll be a hit. And then in the next line, I put all the other stuff: dangerous, dangerousness, violence, violent, aggression, yada yada yada. And you'll notice there's an and to the left of that, and I could have changed it to or, but if I do or, it'll find all the articles that have anything to do with mental illness or aggression, and I want articles that have both those things co-occurring, so I leave it as an and. And I could here limit my fields where it says select a field optional. I could drop that down and just search in the title or in the subject or keyword. But I like to start really broad. Start with, when I'm first looking for articles, start with a wide net so I don't limit the fields. I look in all kinds of journals. I don't limit it to full text or to peer reviewed. I'm just looking anywhere, because one of the things I'm doing is, maybe I'm not using the right search terms, but I might stumble across an article that will tell me the right search terms if I find kind of the perfect article. So let me back up for a second. So you'll notice I have some options regarding how I want to proceed with my search here. One of those being search modes, and you can click that question mark to learn more about these. I just leave it with the first option. Makes the most sense to me. You can also see an option there for linked full text, and that will limit your searches to articles that are linked full text. The only problem with that, some of the articles that EBSCO has marked as being not linked full text are actually available full text online in some format. So even if you're looking for full text stuff, I usually don't recommend doing that. I say just look for good articles and then try to find them rather than limiting your search, unless you need an article in the next hour. Then that may be good for you. So there's the question mark I told you about, and then the link full text is right there. If we scroll down, we see other options that we can limit, which again I'm not limiting right now, but just kind of so you know you're there. They're there. Sorry. One of the important ones is this box for peer reviewed. A lot of times your professors will want you to only have peer reviewed articles in your paper, or peer refereed. They may refer to it that way, with the idea that these are typically more valid and less likely to have bias, especially political bias, where somebody's just writing from their own point of view, maybe even making up research. The peer review process is in there to kind of help limit the influence of that kind of stuff. You also see publication type, where you can limit to specifically peer-reviewed journals. You can also limit it to chapters or other types of publications. But again, right now I'm not looking to limit it. Cast a wide net and see what comes up. So if I go back and I hit search and I looked under, mental illness, mentally ill, insanity, insane, blah blah blah, and dangerous, danger, dangerousness, crime, criminal, all those things, and it pulled up over 13,000 hits. And if I scroll down a little bit, I'll see that the first result is a French article, which I won't embarrass myself trying to pronounce. So to read the abstract, I just click on the title in blue there, and looking over the abstract, looks like it's a study of the perception of dangerousness, which isn't exactly what I'm looking at. I really want to know about how dangerous people are, and this is about perceptions of dangerousness. So I'm not exactly what I'm looking for, but if I could easily access this article, and if I read French, I'd probably take a look at their introduction, because it seems likely that an article like this will probably cite some statistics, and the sources for those statistics regarding how many people with mental disorder really are dangerous when they're talking about these perceptions of dangerousness. I could then track down the sources they cite, read those, see who else was citing those things, and that might be fruitful for me. Scroll back up to the top of this same page I was at. If I want to go back to where I was, rather than hitting the back key on the browser, which will sometimes work, sometimes you'll get messed up. If you want to be sure not to get messed up, click on result list to go back to the list of results that you were just looking at. So now I've gone back to the result list, and I've scrolled down to the fifth one, fifth result, which was mental illness, violence, and risk assessment, an evidence-based review. Okay, that sounds good. So I clicked on the title, and this brought me to the abstract. And after reading the abstract, it seems like this is just what I'm looking for. This is a review article that summarizes the current literature addressing my very question. And so it's a really good article. I'm probably going to read this one, print it out. But the other thing is, since it's exactly the type of thing I'm looking for, I'm going to use this article to find more articles. So I look at the keywords that they used, some of which, the ones that are bold are the ones that I had in my search. So risk assessment is one that I didn't have, so I might think about adding that. And then also I look down at subjects, which mental disorders, I think I had that one, violence and violent crime, so I've got those. But again, risk assessment is a subject that I didn't have. I may want to include that, add that to my list of searches, of search terms when looking for more articles. Okay, so in addition to kind of looking at the keywords and subjects for this article, I can also click over here on the left where it says find similar results. And when I do this, Psycinfo uses some sort of algorithm with smart text searching, as they call it, where they use a lot of the keywords that appear in this article and then find other articles that have a lot of those same keywords. And if I did this, which I've done it before, and it typically pulls up some pretty good articles that are pretty similar to what you're looking at. So that's a good thing to look at. Another thing on this page, which you can't quite read probably, but what it says is cited references 35. So this particular review article cited 35 articles about violence and mental illness, and so I probably want to go back and take a look at those. One, to verify that my understanding of those articles is the same as the authors of this review, but then also I can look and see who cited those articles other than this review, because there may be other reviews that have different points of view on those same studies. Okay, so that's about all there is on this page for me, but I'm not quite done with this article yet. If I go back to the results list and I want to see, well, has anybody cited this article? In this particular article, nobody has, so I've already scrolled down to an article that has been cited, so you can see what it looks like whenever that happens. And when it happens, it'll say time cited in this database, in this particular article down here, 20 times. So 20 people have cited this article and used the same database. The article we're looking at before hadn't been cited by anybody yet because it was just too new. It came out in 2010. So people that are reading that and are going to use it in their own writing haven't gotten their stuff published yet. But that's a really good tool for, especially if you find an older article and it's been cited more recently, see who's looked at it since then, because they may have disconfirmed what the original article you were looking at said. Okay, so a few more thoughts about searching for articles. When you're looking for a summary of research, a summary of research knowledge on a particular topic, if you have to write kind of a research paper on blah blah blah, an easy way to narrow your search pretty quickly is to, in addition to kind of the keywords you were using, so like the keywords we just used, that's fine, put those, and then in a third line add either review or meta-analysis, or put both of those, review in parentheses or meta-analysis in parentheses, and then search in the title field. Because typically when somebody writes a review article, they put the word review in the title, or if they did kind of statistical review, they'll put the word meta-analysis in the title. So that's a good way to find review articles. A quick note about that: if you're trying to write a review of the literature, finding other review articles on your same topic can be helpful, but it can be hard to write your review after reading somebody else's. So my recommendation to you is to find another review, don't read it, but look at all their sources, read all their sources, take some notes, form your ideas, and then read that review so you have your own ideas in place before they maybe get contaminated by this other person's perception of the literature. Okay, so a little tip about reviews, and additionally, the title field in general is pretty helpful for narrowing a search. When you look for, you try to imagine, okay, the perfect article would have this word or this phrase or these two words in the title, and so you can use that to kind of narrow down a search quickly if you're getting thousands and thousands of responses and having trouble finding exactly what you're looking for. Another thought: make sure you learn from experience. So keep track of which search terms you've used, and you can save your citations that you find in EBSCO using their software, or you can cut and paste into a Word document. But keep track of it, see what comes up, and refine your searches as you go along. Persistence is good, but persistence with paying attention pays off a lot faster. In terms of citations, EBSCO has software that will generate a reference citation for anything you're looking at, and it'll do it in a variety of styles: APA, AMA, MLA, and that's really great and neat. But double check those citations and make sure they're accurate, because if it has an error and you include it in your paper, your professor may still take points off. I know I would, because you're responsible for having the correct citation, and it's not okay to say, well, EBSCO had it wrong, therefore it's not my fault. You have to make sure that it's done properly. Okay, one more thing. Explore the databases. We have, you're not going to break something by clicking the wrong icon. So look around, look through the tutorials. If you don't look through the tutorials and you learn best from experience, just go try to find stuff, and don't be afraid to click all the different options and see what happens when you mix a variety of options. That's the best way to figure out, to me anyway, the best way to figure out how best to use these things. Okay, good luck with your article hunts, and remember, keep track of what you're doing, hang in there, and you're going to find there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot more than maybe you ever thought there was before.